I mean, she has a reputation for seeds her. I mean, she is a hard worker.
Let me interrupt 1 second, Coach Ryan. We're having a audio issue.
Any yes. Can you hear us?
Try again, please.
Ron,
Okay.
can you hear us?
Yes, better.
Okay.
All right.
We're good?
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so Bridgeburger, her reputation for seeds her. She was just a workhorse.
All right,
Yeah.
Ryan, we are having that same issue.
Yep,
When you
we'll,
spoke, it was good.
We'll
Sorry, Haley.
That's okay. Would you like me to repeat the question, Ron?
Please. Yes. We
Okay,
just took
great.
a run, so I might be out of breath too.
That's okay. We'll jog your memory here. So Grace Berger, as a Hoosier, she was often described as the heart of Indiana basketball. Fans loved her. Coach Terry Morin loved her. In this preseason so far, Coach, how have you seen her demonstrate that she could be the heart of your team potentially, both on and off the court?
Yeah, her work ethic is incredible. She comes in, she's gotten with our coaches, all coaches. She wants to learn everything she can. She came here almost 2 weeks early. I mean, as soon as the draft was over, Grace was here. I think we probably had so many Indiana Hoosier jerseys at our preseason game the other day. It was incredible. People were yelling, put Grace in. Finally, I was just like, fine, put her in. Let them watch her. But she did a good job. She's got a learning curve, like most rookies do. Takes a year or two to kind of understand the size and physicality and just the overall athleticism of this game at this, in the WNBA. So she's had a couple hits, but she gets right back up and she's a fighter, and she has gotten better since training camp has started, really focusing on her shooting. She's probably getting about 350, 400 shots up every morning before we start practice. But then she's an incredible human being. So off the court, that's the kind of people that we want here with the Fever, just high character, and then just great teammates.
All right. Thank you, Christy and Haley. We're going to turn now to Doug. Doug, you're going to be followed by Ben. Doug.
Hey, Coach. Doug Feinberg, the AP. Two-part question. Just first part is, what's the biggest adjustment you've had to make so far moving over to that first chair, so to speak, for the first time? And along those lines, how much does it help having a Lynn Dunn who's been in that chair many, many years before her role now?
Yeah. Hey, Doug, thank you. I've been doing this for a really long time. I've had the opportunity to work with Pokey Chapman for a lot of years and be a part of two different organizations that were rebuilding. We went to Chicago and rebuilt there and, went to the playoffs and then into the finals in year 4. And then we came to Indiana and started that process and was moving in a good direction. And then that's this league and that's the pro game. Changes happen. But I think going to Atlanta this last season with Tanisha Wright and helping her get that organization back to where, it's going to be an elite program. She's doing a great job, but that process with her really helped prepare me for this. And probably the biggest thing was, as the assistant, you get in the gym and do the work. The hardest adjustment for me is to not have that gym time with the players. That's been hard. I've finally figured out that I have to schedule certain things at certain times so it doesn't interfere with those workouts with the players. That's where my passion is. But other than that, there's a lot of questions that have to be answered by a lot of different people when you're rebuilding or reloading. And so just having to figure that out and understand that that's just the process right now, and we'll build it. And we're not going to skip any steps. And then we will be able at some point, it'll kind of even out and we'll just be able to not be on cruise control, but it won't be in this stage like it is right now.
And Lynn, how much you can bounce things off her if you need to?
Oh yeah, Lynn's been awesome. Lynn's been challenging me since she hired me. We started this process and I ended up pulling my name out early because I just really just the head coaching thing had never been something that I was really, I loved my role, but she just kept on. And finally I was just like, all right, Lynn, like, let's do this. So we made that decision and, she's been awesome. She's emailing me. She emails me stuff every day. We have conversations. I ask her daily after practice. We have our little meeting like, hey, what did you see? What did it look like? And then as the GM, you know, she's having to make some really hard decisions right now. And so we're just able to bounce some stuff off each other, but just her experience and her, I mean, she won a championship here. So while I would be crazy to not take in everything Linda has to offer.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Doug. And we're going to turn now to Ben Pickman. Ben, you're going to be followed by Mike Vopel. Ben, you're up.
Hey, Christy, thanks again for doing this. Just following up on that question that Doug just asked, you know, you mentioned not having as much, you know, gym time with players. How have you kind of, or just not, you know, being on the court as much necessarily and deviating some responsibilities to assistants. How have you kind of made up for that? I guess, what are some of the ways that you guys have tried to relationship build, or how do you plan on continuing to build those relationships as the season gets underway?
Yeah, so as soon as I was hired on here, we had a lot of players that were in market throughout the offseason. So I would try to come to town when those guys were in town. Nalissa, you know, she was really important for me to build that relationship with. I think she has got the biggest upside. She's a great player, but I think she can get so much better. We've had some hard conversations. But I really believe those hard conversations have been able to happen because of the relationship that she and I have built. Really tried to get out to Texas with her and her family. It didn't work out. She was, you know, busy. The schedules didn't work out, but her mom actually came to Indy, was able to spend some time with her. She was a great resource in helping me just, you know, understand Liz and what drives her. And Liz wants to be great. And that's a plan that we have, and we have it in place, and we have some steps right now that we're attacking. And she doesn't like me every day, that is for sure, but we meet every single day. I've been doing that with several of the players. I have a leadership crew. I mean, I've got 11 players here that are first and second year players, very little experience, but from a few of them. So I've been really using those guys to help bring their experience from other places to these younger players, to show them kind of what being a pro looks like. Edub was, you know, got her in free agency. I thought that was huge to get her. Tori Vivians, I was here when we drafted her. Tori has something to prove. She was on board with anything I asked her to do. She knew she wasn't what she needed to be last year, leadership wise. Kelsey Mitchell going into year 6. I've built relationships with those players. So I've been able to coach them a certain way. I've been able to coach them so these young players can see how that looks. So it's just not getting on to, you know, I'm getting on from top to bottom. We're holding people to a standard. So it's just the relationship piece, which has been what I've talked about from the beginning.
Thanks, Coach, and thanks, Ben. Michael, you're up. You'll be followed by Gabrieline. Michael.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about Kelsey Mitchell. Can you sort of, I guess, go into what you feel like her role will be with these younger players? I mean, she's had to carry a lot of load, hasn't had a chance to be on a playoff team. Where is she at this point in her career in terms of leadership and what she expects from this team this year, from your perspective?
Kelsey Mitchell is, she's leads by example. That's what she's been doing since she's been here. She did not have a leadership base to help her and show her what that looked like. So a lot of this she's had to learn, you know, just by trial and error. When I took the job, she and I talked quite a bit about what I expected, my expectations of her, and where she had to step out of her comfort zone a little bit and take on a lot of that. I know Kelsey in the past, I know in the last few years, she said when she would reach her point of being frustrated, that's when she would probably do more talking. And you know, that's not what, you know, we can't have that. Like, she needs to establish that from the beginning, establish those leadership skills from the beginning. Kelsey's been here through several coaches. Kelsey's been here where people were kind of telling her this is how it's going to be now, and she's kind of in the, now I want to see those changes happen. And that's a conversation that she and I had. And, you know, I promised her there would be change, and she has done an outstanding job with the young players, with the leadership group. She's come out of her shell. We also have daily to every other day meetings. That to me is huge. I can help her in that leadership role with what I see, what she can go and take care of for us. And she has really attacked that big time, which is going to also help her. It's helped her on the floor. She's also on the practice floor changed. Kelsey is locked in defensively. It's something that we've talked about that she needed to get better at. And she's put in the work. She's done the extra work. We hold them accountable on that end. And she, she texted me after our game against Chicago. We had a really fun video session, if you will. And after that, and she thanked me. She said, Coach, this is how I want to operate. I want you to keep holding us accountable, holding me accountable. Because I really, in that video session, she was one that I really had to put out there and show some things that we had to get better on. And she handled it like a true pro. And that's all I can ask her to do. So I really appreciate where Kelsey Mitchell is right now with our team.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Mike. We're going to turn to Gabrielle. Gabrielle, you're going to be followed by Lucas. Gabrielle, you're up.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Coach has answered pretty much all my questions that I was going to ask. So let me see if I can figure something out. Working with women in the career field that you're in, there has to be some high points, some low points with stress levels. How do you help them get through that stress level and communicating with each other where there isn't butting heads, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on these guys right now. From the beginning, we took the nameplates off the lockers, and because you were going to have to earn it. And I told them when they walked in that locker room for our team meeting, no one has a place right now. Like, that's just where we are. And they bought into it. We had a great first meeting. We let a lot of stuff go. We have we're calling it pouring in. We got rid of all the negative and we're pouring in with nothing but positive. But yeah, the stress right now for a lot of these players, there's a lot of hard decisions that have to be made. There's a lot of really good players that need to be in this league that are not going to have an opportunity or will not make the team that probably deserve to be on a team. But we, our veterans are doing a great job. I hear them all the time out there talking with the young players. The young players are trying to do things that we work on at practice that they aren't picking up. They get with veteran players and work on that after. But yeah, I mean, as females, we tend to be really emotional. So we've had some emotional days. We've had some days where we were, mad at each other. They were mad at me, mad at the staff. That's okay. But we've really created an environment where we're really, it's going to be a respectful environment. So our conversations and how we operate, we can have any conversation you want as long as we hold it to a standard of being very respectful. And they've done awesome up to this point. So hopefully we'll keep that going. And, we all have all these decisions to make over these next couple of days. It's going to be tough.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I would definitely say put some Celine Dion on and just cry it out.
Yes, indeed. That's a good way.
All right, thanks, Coach, and thanks, Gabrielle. We're going to turn to Lucas. Lucas, you're going to be followed by Emily. Lucas.
Hey, Coach. Thank you for the time. In women's sports in particular, injuries are kind of great concern, and particularly with more games this upcoming season compared to past seasons. I guess my question is kind of, what kind of strategies do you employ both as a team and an individual level to try and limit the amount of injuries that you might suffer throughout the course of the season?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. That's half the battle. You lose with 12 players. You lose a player with an ankle sprain and they're out for 3 or 4 games, and that puts you from being maybe 1 game out to now you're out 5. So it's tough. You have to be very, we've got people in place, our trainer Todd and our performance coach Sarah. Up to this point, we're really focusing on, during the WNBA season, you're not really worried about building strength. It's just not possible. You're maintaining, you're doing preventative stuff. They are on a great page together on how we're doing that, and conditioning. We had several players that came in, as a pro. The one thing I've been preaching since these guys got here, being the new coach, once you become a pro, there's never a time that you should be out of shape. Like, this is your livelihood. This is what you do. So for us to spend time on working to get players back in shape, that can't happen. That will never happen again. Now that, we're here and can establish some things, but, you have to do the preventative. You have to do things that, I have to really, sometimes when I'm mad and we played a bad game, I'm going to go in the gym the next day and just want to really get a good one in. And I really trust in what Sarah and Todd are going to tell me, and that, hey, coach, this is where they are today. This is what you're going to have to do. have a tendency to be hard-headed at times. I hope my staff will get me to listen to those guys, and I think they will, but you just have to be smart. You have to be really read their bodies, read the situation, see what you have coming up. Just like we took a day off on Sunday, that wasn't going to be a day off. We had a great game. I thought they deserved that day off. We were supposed to take off today. And now that puts us back to how many days we want to be out for a play-in day. So we just have to change some things up. Yesterday was really hard. They handled it really well. Today was really hard. And now we'll start tapering back. But it's just, sometimes you can't, injuries happen. You just have to have people in place to step up when those happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you. We have a time for a couple more. We're going to turn to Emily. Emily, you're going to be followed by Brendan. Emily.
Hey, Christie. A lot of the South Carolina rookies around the league have talked about just feeling very prepared to make this transition. So for you, is there anything specific you've seen from either Aaliyah or Victoria that maybe they did in college that has translated particularly well or quickly to this level during training camp?
Yeah, those guys have come in and done an incredible job with all the things that, Coach Staley has taught them and the way they operate there. I've seen a couple of their practices over the last couple of years. I mean, they're operating. It looks like a pro practice at times, the way they're moving and just the team basketball. I think that's been Aaliyah does not stop talking. She's always talking positive to her teammates. She's always asking great questions. Victoria is always asking great questions. They play at a level. If I'm asking them to go at a 10, if they're not giving me a 10, it's right under. And that's just something that's been instilled in them. What's been fun to watch is they're great friends, and those two go so hard at each other. Sometimes I'm like, hold on, guys. Like, you guys aren't gonna, but they finish the drill or they finish the scrimmage and they are right back to, hey, where we're going to eat or what are we doing? It's really incredible, their competitiveness and how they can turn it on when they're supposed to, and then, turn it off to be great teammates right after.
All right. Thank you, Emily. And Coach, Brendan, you're up. And if we have time, we'll get back to Haley for one more. Brendan.
Hi, Christie. Thanks for the time. I really enjoyed the Fevers all access training camp video. And I wanted to ask about the pouring clean water into dirty water exercise and where that may have come from. Is that something you came up with? I was kind of interested in how that tactic was, you came up with it.
Yeah. We were just our staff. I'm not sure if it's probably been done before, but our staff, we were just trying to come up with, you're always trying to come up with those little slogans that you're going to really emphasize over and over. And, just the players that were here over the last few years, it just hadn't been a great experience. And so we just kind of said, that's the dirty water. That's what you've been, swamp water. That's just what you've been dealing with and dealing in. And so we came up with the idea in our first team meeting that we couldn't move forward. We couldn't move forward at all until everybody was able to take an opportunity to flush that. And so, we had the dirty water sitting in front of us. We had two big pitchers sitting there. Every player and coach had some water, and there was also some dirt sitting next to the pitcher of dirty water, just to add more to. And if you had something you needed to flush or you needed to let go, get that dirt out of there. I actually started it just because I was here. I was fired. There's some feelings that were, still lingering that I had to let go. And so I just wanted them to see that I was letting some of what I had from the past let go, dump my dirty water into the muddy water. But then I poured into one of the pitchers. The coach had a pitcher. The players had a pitcher. And it was it was an emotional meeting. There was, you hope to get to those points where players are pouring from their hearts, and you get to that. And I wasn't ready for how early in meeting one that could happen. We went around the room. Some people said they didn't have any, but they were pouring in their clean water because they were going to pour into our team. So I had Kelsey Mitchell come up at the end when everybody had talked and poured in their clean water and got their dirt and got rid of it. And she and I together, I had a pitcher and Kelsey Mitchell had a pitcher, and we poured that water into that dirty small glass of water. And as we poured, all that dirt just came out. And when we finished pouring, there was nothing but a clean glass. And so that's where we started. And that's when we started our team meeting. So that's what we came up with. Maybe I thought it was great, just the way they bought into it, and they still say it. I hear them talk about it in interviews. So that's just kind of what you hope. And these guys are really pouring their hearts into our team right now.
Thank you for that story. That's really cool. And then I just had one more quick follow-up. Last year, Indiana played at one of the fastest paces in the league. I'm curious in terms of what your approach to pace is with this group and how you might want to play at that same pace or play a little slower. I'm just curious from that standpoint.
No, if we can still be the fastest paced team in the league, that's perfect. That's exactly how we want to play. That's what we've been practicing since day one. Actually, since day one, we started with defense. Let me start there. We started with defense. That's what we're gonna hang our hat on. But we get stops and we transition down. And we've been working on some things today. We had some things that happened in practice today that finally, when you see some lights turn on and when you see some natural things start happening in the flow of your offense, that's when it's fun to go back and watch your video and be able to show your players that they're making these decisions now that they weren't making a week ago. So pace is you want to be really good at three things, and that is one of them for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brendan. And we have time for one more question. We're going to go back to Haley. Haley, go ahead.
Coach Grace Berger at the beginning of preseason said that she wanted to be a sponge. I'm curious whether it's somebody on your staff or other players. Who has she been looking to absorb all the information that she can about the WNBA?
Yeah, it's been cool to watch Grace. She hits every coach because every coach brings something different. So she has spent time in the gym I know all of my coaches. She is E-Dub, Erica Wheeler and her have spent a lot of time talking. E-Dub is, Grace is running the point for us a good bit. So she is really learning under Erica and just trying to figure out like what her role is and what some options are fast, how to play fast, when it's time to slow it down, what to call, when to call. We're trying to explain, there's just certain things you can't call with the pace that we're trying to play. And so she's figuring that out, but she's taking it in from all of us. And especially I've seen her with Erica Wheeler.
All right. Thanks, Coach. And thanks, Haley. Thanks to our media for joining us. Coach, good luck this season. Thanks once again to our media. We'll see you back here at 1:30 for Washington.
Awesome.
Thanks, Coach. Eric.
Thank you, guys.
Tebow.
Appreciate it.
He'll be Eric Tebow 1:30. He'll be followed by Sandy Brondello at 2, James Wade at 2:30, Tanisha Wright at 3. All those times are Eastern. See you then.